No mahara mai koutou. Lovely to have you all on today. I know we've got a few more people joining us, but in trying to keep the time today, it is te kau karaka, so it is 10 o'clock a.m, so let's kick things off, but lovely to see you all. So we're just going to start off with karakia timatanga. Amy, please. Thank you. He honore he kroria ki te atua, he maunga rongo ki te whenua. He whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Hanga e te atua he nāka hau. Ki roto ki tēnā o mātou, whakatonga tau wairua tapu. Hei awhina, hei tohu, hia mātou. Ake, āmene. Āmene. E mihi ana ki a tātou kua whakakotahi mai ki te kaupapa o te rānei. So no mahara mai, welcome everyone. I am a little bit nervous, if I'm being honest. My first time doing this presentation to you all, but it's lovely to have you all with us. Now, before I kind of launch into Ko and who I am, just a few little health and safety things for all of us to be mindful of. This session will be recorded, except for when you go into breakout rooms, and then it won't be recorded in there, which is great because it allows us to have a little bit more kōrero. If at any time during this session you feel like you need to take a break, you need to go to the whariiti, to the toilet, you need to take a drink, or you just need a little bit of time for reflection, then please do so, okay? And please reach out to one of the ladies and they'll be able to, if you need someone to talk to, just to have a little word to. But I just want to also mahi to Monica and Aggie, who have been instrumental in, Amy and Aggie, who have been instrumental in pulling this all together. Just with regards to the Kia Whiti Tonu program, the Kia Whiti Tonu program has been developed following on from the recently released National COVID-19 Impact Survey of tangata whenua, community and voluntary organisations. So it carried out over May and June 2020 by CSI in partnership with Huie, Community Aotearoa, Philanthropy New Zealand and Volunteering New Zealand. And the findings of the survey were published in the Time to Shine report. The survey identified a strong commitment across the sectors to respond, to recover, and then reshape for the future. It also identified some key areas where respondents wanted support to help them shine brightly, yay, and build back better after the disruption of COVID-19. Hence why today we have this wonderful workshop for all of you. So again, no mahara mai, welcome. Super excited, a little bit emotional if I'm being honest. So just a little bit about me. Ko Tuihana Ohia tōku ingoa, no nai te rangi nā te pūkenga, no te arawa o ku iwi, no whetu o te rangi, tahu whakatiki, romai o ku marae, no waita o te awa, no tauranga moana, no maua o te maunga, and it's great to be here. Yes, I come from a beautiful place called Tauranga Moana, and as a young child grew up at Mount Manganui and also at a little farm. My mother's parents had a little farm just outside of Dannevirke in a place called Weber. But I have spent a lot of my life in Melbourne, Australia. My family have been there now for 42 years. So you will hear a little bit of a twang every now and then. I am the blended mother of 4 boys. Yep, I'm surrounded by Tāne. Keanu, who's 28, just turned 28. I know, I look great for my age, just saying. Moti Order, who's 17, Makazik, who's 16, and then baby Nikora, who's 6. And I also have a lovely partner, Nikora Narapo. Who hails from Tūhoi, Ngāti Porou and Te Rarawa. I fell into, well, what did I fall into? I was given this wonderful opportunity to work in the wellbeing space approximately 13 years ago, working for Te Whanau o Aotearoa with their award-winning workplace wellbeing program, Moti Order. And around about 2 years ago, with a whole lot of courage and a whole lot of bravery, I stepped away. Actually, it was 3 years ago from Te Whanau o Aotearoa, and launched my own wellbeing consultancy business. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And I love it because I get to help not only workplaces, but more importantly, their whanau and also communities. So I love the mahi that I do. Very, very passionate about it. Hence why I think I'm a little bit emotional today, feeling the wairua of it all. But that is a little bit about me. And yeah, so I think that's enough about me for now, eh? So let's get stuck into the do. And if at any time you've got questions, if you can just put them in the chat, and either Amy or Aggie will be able to hand them over to me. But there'll be lots of opportunity today at the end to ask questions, but feel free if during the course you've got a question, okay? Kia ora, awesome. Next one, please, Amy. So I'd love to do a bit of whakawhanaungatanga. I've shared with you my name, where I'm from, my mahi. I've shared about my love of my role. My favourite place is on top of Mowal, looking out across the moana to all our whenua, and just thinking about what our ancestors or our tūpuna would have been looking at. My favourite kai is, I really want to say it's something glamorous, but it's actually, I love fresh snapper fish heads, and I'll have them any which way you give them to me. They are my, like, you know, they're just my thing. And I do a bit of slurping, but I am quite ladylike when I eat them. My cousins tell me, they give me a bit of a hard time. But what I'd really like to do is encourage you all. We're going to put you all into breakout rooms now, and I'd love you to just quickly share your name, kei whea, where you're from. The slide will be there, so you'll be able to see it. Your mahi, what you love about your mahi or about your role, what is your favourite place, and then your favourite kai. And then when you come back, you're only going to have 5 minutes to do this, and then when you come back, we're going to get 1 or 2 of you to share. Ka pai? Awesome. So I'll see you all real soon. Kia ora. Anyone? Lizzie. Kia ora, Lizzie. How are you? I'm very good at doing. How are you? Yes, I'm picking you.
Good night, everybody. Am I just talking a little bit what I said in the group?
Aye, yes.
Cool. Okay, so I'm Lizzie. I'm down here in Porirua. I work for Wesley Community Action, and Porirua is my home, and I have a social service in Waitangerua. Where we have a whole range of things that we do, from a lot of it is social work, strengthening families. We run a lot of programs. I have a team of 3 youth workers, so we do have a bit of a mixed bag going on up there. And what is it? My favourite place is Rarotonga, which is my homeland on my mother's side. So I love to be there at least once a year on the beach, but not happening at the moment. My favourite food, I like all food. I can't drill it down. And what was the other thing? Oh, that might do. Yeah.
I think you did pretty well. Thank you so much for sharing, Lizzie. And now I'm going to ask Dawn. Kia ora, Dawn. You just need to unmute yourself, please.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Ko Dawn Hutchison aho. I am the General Manager for Circability, which is a boutique but a very intensive arts trust that works predominantly with young rangatahi with disabilities. It's a fascinating place to work. It's so much fun, but it's also very intensive. And what I love about it is definitely the people that we work with each and every day. It's a very rewarding role. I'm originally from Hamilton, from the Waikato, but I've been in Auckland for a very long time. I am actually an art strategist, so I actually wrote the arts and culture strategy for Tauranga and Western Bay of Plenty. And I know you've got a connection there, and also for Auckland as well, for Tamaki Makaurau. My favourite place would have to be Whangapawa. It's the place I just go to in the Coromandel just to escape and turn my phone off. And my favourite food is definitely mango. I love fresh mango. Anywhere in the islands with mango, you'll find me. I just love mango, so yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Dawn. I actually live in Kirikiriroa in Hamilton, so nice to know there's a connection there.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you.
You too, kia ora.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for sharing. That was awesome. We're going to move on to our next slide. Thank you, Amy. Kia ora. There's a few of us who might say that 2020, we're just going to do a bit of reflection about 2020. It's been a challenging year, is how I like to phrase it. And I think it's provided many of us with uncomfortable spaces. But I like to have a bit of a saying, from the most uncomfortable spaces comes the greatest growth. And I like to think of it as it's been quite an incredible year. And we've had much to reflect on. We've been living in this kind of time of uncertainty, especially for those of us, I think, in Tamaki Makaurau, who've not only been through one rahui, but two rahui being locked down. And we've also had the juggle of our family and our mahi and plus. For some of you, you've actually not stopped working through either of the lockdowns. In fact, your services have probably been even more heightened, and so therefore you've worked through all those challenging times. And we've, for those of us that have worked from home, I don't think I've not been in a hui where there hasn't been a partner interrupt, or a teenager interrupt, or a child interrupt, or some kind of interruption. And so we've really had this challenging year. One of the things that in the spaces that I work is there's been some real challenges around hine naro, which is the po, which is kind of our solid foundation with regards to our mental and emotional capability and capacity. I know some of us have found that incredibly challenging, and it's one of the key themes that's come from a lot of research that's been done this year around what there's uncertainty, stress, anxiety, and our mental capability, which have become key themes out of this year. The other one would be around hononga, around connection. I know for myself that it's been an incredibly challenging time. I normally see my mother, father, my oldest son, my brother, and my sister, who all reside in Melbourne, Australia. However, this year it's been a little difficult, and we're used to seeing each other at least 3 times a year, and I'm not quite sure when we're going to see them next, but that kind of, that first rahui, when I realised that we weren't going to be as connected, really caused some emotional space to really move into. That was really uncomfortable. And if I think about Dawn, who shared with us, I think it was Dawn who shared with us, she's got her family, and sorry if I got your name incorrect, but you've got family in Rarotonga, and so, when are you going to see them next? So we've kind of all gone through this year. What I like to think about is what we've received from this year, but it's a good time for us to reflect, because let's reflect on the positives and what this year has given us, which gave us a lot of peace, and it gave us some time to really reflect on what we do in terms of both our personal family lives and also with regards to our mahi. Amy, could I ask you to move to the next slide, please? I think one of the key things also that came from this year was people's ability or people's thinking around what does self-awareness and self-care look like for us. So what is our knowledge of self-awareness? What is your awareness of self? So I'm a natural extrovert. love people, love being around people, and really, really enjoy the energy of others. You know, put me in a room full of people and I'm just bouncing from person to person. They just kind of, people like yourselves bring me a lot of joy. What I found incredibly hard this year was when we went into that quiet time, was suddenly there was no people, there was no social interaction, and how did I kind of deal with that? So I became quite self-aware of my inability or my challenging space of being on my own or having just a bit of solitude. So we are going to do a breakaway group. So I would like you to think around what is your self-awareness or awareness of self, and also what do you do for your own self-care? So I'm a bit of a gym junkie. I like going to the gym, and I really like cooking for my family, which is great. But what I do for myself, well, lately I've been saying to my sons and to my partner, because I'm surrounded by men, I've said to them, look, I need to go away for a weekend, and I just go, and I generally go back to Mount Maunganui to Tauranga. And what that looks like and feels like and smells like and sounds like and tastes like to me, well, it looks like a beautiful blue ocean. It feels beautiful when I swim in the sea and that water goes over my head and along my body. It smells like kaimoana. It sounds like waves, and the taste is a Copenhagen ice cream from the bottom of my well. So that's kind of what it tastes, it feels like, smells like, and sounds like to me. What we'd like you to do is have a bit of reflection, think about and discuss in your breakaway groups what is it that you do for your own self-care, and do you have great self-awareness? Not all of us do, and often we're reminded by family, but if we could please go into breakout groups, that'd be lovely, and have some discussion and some kōrero, that'd be awesome. And just a heads up, I will be joining a couple of groups. Kia ora, thank you. If you can go into our breakout groups now, that'd be awesome. Kia ora, Irene.
Kia ora.
Well, we just, in our little breakout room, it was great to be able to hear. And first of all, I know that in asking those questions, you're actually having a little bit of vulnerability with regards to, you know, answering them. So first of all, I just mahi to you all for allowing yourselves to be vulnerable in this space. It seems like two of the main things that are coming through with regards to where people go, what they do for self-care, often involves taio, which is the environment, so whether that be the ngahere or just being close to Papatūnuku, to Mother Earth, and then also the other place seems to be water, anywhere near water, whether that be a awa, a river, the moana, the ocean, anywhere near water. So it's, and again, that makes sense. I'm going to ask a couple of people to share, and I'm going to ask Rachel Monks to please share. So over to you, Rachel. Kia ora, thank you.
Oh, morena.
Morena.
Nice to see you. I was talking about the my awareness of self is that I'm an introvert, and I quite liked not having to see everybody over the ahui. But at the same time, when I'm with people that I care about, that's my happy place. But for self-care, I take my dog to Takapuna Beach for a walk, and it's a time to rest and reflect, and often catch up with a girlfriend for a glass of wine and a download. It's a good thing for me. But if I can get home to my marae, that's where I am truly happy.
Thank you, Mrs. Monks. Thank you for sharing. Not surprised that a glass of wine managed to creep in there, but thank you so much. And Lizzie, just quickly, I'm not going to ask you to share, but Lizzie, sorry that I got your name incorrect before, so my apologies, Lizzie. But I also know, if I could ask Christina Leaf to actually share. That would be lovely. Kia ora, Christina.
Aroha nui e hoa. Kia ora te whanau, ko Christina Leaf tōku ingoa. Huri au no te rarawa ngā pui me aisutaki i tipakau ki tāma ki GI, ngari anu whanau ki pangaru i nai nei. Nō reira tēnā tātou. I really like this pātai because I was struggle street during rāhui, to be honest. I was back up home on the papakainga, staying with whānau that were still carrying a lot of mamai, a lot of heaviness, and they weren't able to regulate their emotions, articulate how they were feeling in a safe way. And that was like a main struggle to try and hold. So that got really, really hard. And I think what I learned about my own hauora and looking after myself is that there are times that sometimes you actually just need to retreat to your fortress of solitude and just get away from the rest of the world. Normally I'm an extrovert and I'm like, oh my God, all the people. And I did struggle with parts of rāhui because I was like on every webinar, on all the summit, virtual summit, just to be around people. But also recognizing that there were times that I needed to just look inward and just wānanga with self. And so some of the things that I do now is not be too hard on myself when I think that, oh, I need to have a bath every single week because that's going to make me all zen and I'm going to feel amazing. Trying to get into a routine from the start can be something that's really great for my hauora. Other things, same as being in the taiao, spending time in the moana. You know that moment when you go out into the moana and you just float and you like look up and all the clouds are passing you by and you can hear like tamariki maybe laughing on the beach and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Those are one of my favorite moments, as well as at nighttime. And up north in Hokianga, we have like no light pollution. So the stars are so intense. It's like you can just reach your hand up and grab a handful. So I really love taking that time to wānanga with my tupuna to really get me back to center. But also kai, because lighting candles and setting the environment up, hanging out with my iramutu, with my niece and nephew, and just going on those random missions, like wandering around and adventuring with friends are beautiful things that I love to do. So aroha nui koutou.
Kia ora e whai. Thank you for sharing. Now, in fact, thank you to all of you for sharing, whether that be in the breakout space or whether it be in this space. And now we're going to move to our next slide, and this one really gets me excited. So thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. So just a little bit of feedback with just a little bit of explanation with regards to pūmanawa and pūkenga. So what is pūmanawa? Pūmanawa is your tūpuna or God-given ancestral talent, or maybe a talent that you've just acquired along the way in your life. So it's your superpower. It's actually your magic is how I like to describe it. Your pūkenga are your skills. So how do you take your pūmanawa and put it into the wonderful skills that you have? But we're going to focus on pūmanawa today. So how do you utilize your pūmanawa, and how does that reflect or show up in your mahi and within your whanau? So yesterday I shared, because we did a little bit of a test, yesterday I shared that my pūmanawa is my ability to leave people smiling as I exit a room, and the ability to make people feel incredibly positive about things. I'm incredibly positive about things. So that is what I like to leave with people. So today, well, if you take one learning away from this workshop today, that's great. But it's more about, for me, how I leave people feeling more than the words, if that makes sense. So we've all got pūmanawa, we've all got superpowers, we've all got magic. And how does that show up and reflect in not only the work that you do, but also within your whanau? So we are going to do another little breakout session. This is going to be quick. This will just be a couple of minutes. And I know for some of us, we need to think about that a little bit and contemplate and reflect on that. And just a reminder, whanau, that the breakout rooms are confidential. They're not recorded, okay? So we're going to go into breakout rooms, and I'm going to encourage you all to share what your pūmanawa is and then how it shows up in your mahi and your whanau. Kia ora. Are we all back, Aggie? Yes, we are. Well, as we came back, I was very lucky and fortunate to hear just the end of Greg's kōrero. So because I didn't hear the beginning of his kōrero, I'd really love to hear from Greg with regards to his pūmanawa. Thank you, brother. I'd love to hear from you.
I think I self-sabotaged myself. Ngā mihi tēnei kia koutou tira tātou katoa e whi nei mo tēnei kaupapa. E tikana ko Greg toku ingoa, he uri ahau mo te tai toki arau anō. Hoi anō kei tāmaki ngā kaureo ahau e noho ana I tēnei wā. So whanau, as I was sharing, it's kind of hard to say that because now I'm talking a lot. But I feel one of my pūmanawa would be to be able to just sit in that stillness and quiet. And the purpose of that is to actually bring out the strength and qualities of others and really acknowledging and validating their space too. That's that one. But what I was acknowledging Amy for was, that wasn't Amy, it was Emily, in regards to what a lot of things that she said that I connected and it landed well with me, which was her relentless enthusiasm and things like that. However, I don't want to take her kōrero away from her. I'd rather invite her to actually speak in that space. But for me, it's at the same time of communicating is to ensure that what you're trying to convey to whanau and people across the board is to check in with them, to ensure that whatever message you're trying to put across is received in that way too. Coming from a point of mana enhancing, talking about manaakitanga, so mana enhancing and giving that space to whanau. So koia ko tērā, if that resonates with people, cool. And if it doesn't, that's still cool. So, ngā mihi. So I'd like to take this opportunity to be cheeky and pass it back over to Emily, if I can.
Ka pai.
So I think she had really great kōrero that she shared with the whanau.
Awesome. Emily.
Kia ora koutou. So just going off the back of what Greg was saying, one of the things that I talked about as pūmanawa was the sort of tactical balancing between creative thinking and relentless enthusiasm. And I think basically I work in the justice kaupapa, so we face a lot of barriers, you know, working with, like, at the moment with police in Auckland being rearmed, with the systemic racism, with there's just any number of things in the justice kaupapa that feel like often insurmountable problems. And I feel that maintaining enthusiasm for seeing a better way and using that as to generate momentum around creative thinking is really an important tactic that I found that my team at Just Speak find essential as part of our mahi. And I think that is often taking the shape of looking at previous campaigns where things have gone wrong or right, but also taking inspiration from things that have been way outside the box, alliances that we've formed, and new approaches that are a way of helping to generate people power. And I think all of that has come about because of things like creative thinking and being like, this isn't an insurmountable problem, we just need to look at it differently. So maintaining that and doing it in a situation where things often feel insurmountable, I feel is really powerful, and I'm grateful to be able to harness some of that and see it flourish in my workspace.
Wow. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Greg. And thank you for being cheeky, Greg. Nothing like a bit of cheekiness. Okay. Thank you all for sharing. We're going to move on to the next slide, please, Amy. Kia ora, thank you. Because as with all good kōrero, we're running just a little bit behind, so I need to play a bit of catch up. Now, the purpose of ora, so I suppose the transliteration with regards to ora is well-being. So often people say, well, what's the purpose, you know? And I think that word purpose has come up quite a bit this year with many of us. So the purpose of ora is around our personal growth. It's also around us flourishing, because we as people are actually our greatest asset. A number of you have spoken to whether that's some breakout rooms around or shared with regards to, you know, finding it difficult, not having people around you during those times when we were in Rahui. And whether you are introvert or extrovert, it's still the touch and the feel of people. It's the warmth of others. And I really, truly believe that we are our greatest asset, and it's something to always be mindful of. The wonderful ripple effect of well-being from yourself, it ripples naturally to your whanau and then onto your communities. And I just want to say that the work that you all do amongst our many communities is just wonderful. So I acknowledge you for that, and mihi to you for that. And we've talked about the places and the spaces that fill and fuel us. So many of us mentioned the ngahere, the forest, papatūnuku, Mother Earth, and also why, whether that be near the river or whether that be near the moana, near the sea. And we need to be mindful because that different things, that well-being looks like different things to different people. So what I love, like going to the gym, is not always what the next person loves. The fact that I like fish heads, the next person is going to like something else. So we always need to be mindful that well-being looks like different things to different people, because I think that sometimes we try to box it. And there is no box for well-being. Well-being is just different to each of us. Kia ora, Amy. So we've spoken around the ora of self, so the well-being of self. It begins with you. I ask that you be unashamedly utilize your pūmanawa. I unashamedly use mine frequently. Utilize mine to lift others, to raise others, to just bring a positive energy to many that I touch, feel, or I'm around. It's also, I just want to acknowledge you all, because this year, as we've mentioned, has been quite challenging. And so I acknowledge you, and we need to acknowledge ourselves for the courage and the bravery that we've had this year, because many of us have had to step into uncomfortable spaces and places. The greatest thing about well-being of self is breath. Probably thinking, what? Well, if we weren't breathing, we actually wouldn't be able to converse in this great kōrero today. So ha is the breath. And often if you're feeling times of stress or anxiousness, then I would say, please focus on your breath. And if you can, account to 4 in through your nose and out through your nose. But always remember that if you're feeling a little bit, not quite right, feeling a bit riri, a bit kind of, I don't know, something's annoying me, like my partner spoke to me around that yesterday, then please always come back to ha, to the breath. When I spoke to a number of you around about your self-care, your self-awareness, many of you acknowledged that you're actually quite good at listening to yourself. So I applaud you for that. It's not just about listening to ourselves, it's also about listening to others. I know that as a mother, as a sister, as a mama, I often run around from here to there, to everywhere. And I often, sometimes will not listen to myself. And my partner or my kids will say, Mum, you just need to have a break. You just need to slow down. You just need to rest. And these are some of the things that I encourage you to do when you're thinking about the well-being of self. Kia ora, Amy. So ideally we want to come to a place of Moti Order. So Moti Order, the literal meaning is Moti Order is alive or life force. It's what gives us our get up and go. Potential is being realized and activated. When you're in a place of Moti Order, you're in a place of where everything is aligned. The impact of this that we've spoken to is that you will have a positive effect on your whanau. So if I can give Tau Ora as an example, when we worked on Tau Ora, which is Te Wānau Aotearoa's Wellbeing program, we developed that program, yes, with the individual in mind, but also how we could have an impact on the family, how we could have an impact on the workplace. We had an impact on family because families started participating in the program along with the individuals. What that meant is that people were giving up smoking, people were walking like they hadn't walked before, and there was just, it raised the well-being of not just the individual, but the well-being of the whanau. Then also within our workplace, so we ran that program, it's still running to this day, it's in its 11th year, and every year we had around about 50% of Te Wānau Aotearoa's staff take up that initiative. What was really cool from that was that we had communities approach us as well. So those kind of impacts that you can have when you look at your own well-being, when you decide to participate, can have this amazing effect within your workplaces and also within your communities that are really positive. Because I always think of it as, if my order is in a well place, in a really good place, if I'm well, and if I could imagine that my family is then well, and then my hapu is then well, then my community is well, then my iwi is well, I often think that well-being, if we were all participating and all listening to self and all creating what we believe is order for ourselves, then perhaps some of the health statistics that we have within this country, we could really transform, we could really impact. And not only that, but particularly in your workplaces, that you have an impact on those that you serve, because you all work in industries where you serve others. And if your well-being's in a great place, then that means that you can serve others from a great place. So Moti Order is about realizing your potential and activating your potential. So it goes back to that pūmanawa. It goes back to your self-awareness and your self-care. Kia ora, Amy. I just want to acknowledge you and acknowledge us. And I put up this great picture because, and Amy, could I ask if you could please bring everybody back in for a minute? There's just a little exercise I'd like to do with everyone. Don't worry, I normally get people to dance, but I won't get you to do that. I won't get you to have a kani. But I want to, first of all, acknowledge you to all of you, for letting your light shine today. I want to acknowledge you all for the wealth that you give to others, the service that you give to others. We're extremely grateful for all the work that you do. I would like to acknowledge you all for being such wonderful role models in your community, but also to your whanau, your whanau whanui, so your extended families, and as I've said, your hapu and your iwi. So I know you're all on mute, but I can still see your hands. So what I'm going to ask you to all do is put your hands up in the air, because I can't hear you clap. But if you can do a whiti, that would be really awesome. And a whiti is about sending vibration and energy to others. So I send it to all of you and acknowledge all of you for not only the mahi that you do, but the year that we've had. So ngā mihi nui koutou katoa. Kia ora. I can see everyone whitting. It's awesome. Whiti, whiti, whiti. Thank you, Amy. Next one, please, Amy. Kia ora. So, he pātai, are there any questions? And please, pātai mai question, I'm quite open to any questions that you may have, and I'm going to also leave you with some resources as well. But are there any questions from anyone? Please unmute yourself and ask away.
No. Kia ora koutou. Firstly, I just want to thank everybody for this workshop. This was amazing. This was really, really amazing. And it opened up my eyes and my heart. So I'm really grateful to you, Tuihana, and your amazing team for facilitating this. And ngā mihi koutou, I'm sending you positivity from my end. My pātai kia koutou is, I come from a whanau where we were taught, e roto te reo Pākehā, a kumara does not talk about its own sweetness. So how do I find a way to honour my whanau and honour my tikana, as well as move forward? Because as you said, it's not until you're in uncomfortable spaces that you grow. And I want to grow. I want to be able to stand in my own confidence and be like, kia ora world, this is me. But it's getting past that barrier of e hara au he kumara. I'm not a kumara, but I've been taught to be humble. So what advice do you have?
Yes, humility or humari is something that's part of who we are as an Indigenous people to Aotearoa. I often reflect on a close friend, Che Wilson. And I'm not sure if you know of Che Wilson, but Che Wilson, Che's Te Pai Pai Waho channel. It's available both on Facebook, podcasts, and YouTube, I think he is. But we had a kōrero once around the whole analogy around the kumara. And there was some whakaaro that was shared that perhaps that's been taken out of context with regards to the way that it's now utilised amongst our people. And in terms of have we moved from, if you think about our tupuna, Natasha, and you think about how incredibly powerful they were, and how they weren't afraid to show their skills because they had amazing skills. And, where has that kind of loss of being able to stand in our space of being great at who we are? And I think we have to claim back that space. And Che believes that the kumara whakataiki or the whakatauaki has been probably, I'm trying to be mindful of my kupu here, a little bit changed around on us. If that's, yeah. So if we stand in the light of who we are and within our pūmanawa, are we not standing fast to who we are with regards to being Māori and representing our whānau, our tamariki, our rangatahi, and all those that have been before us and all those that will come forth. So I say to you, it's not necessarily about being whakahihi, but more about being proud of who we are in terms of the skills that we have and our pūmanawa. Ka pai?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to ask a question?
Oh, it's not necessarily a question, but I just want to carry on to what you just said, Tuihana. It's Natasha, if you really want to look at something that's more like a succession plan and stuff, is that, you know, part of that responsibility as us as rangatira and stuff like that and whatnot is to exemplify and model those type of things to whānau who are not in that same space too. And of course, being okay when you're in the unknown, and it can be a bit of a struggle, but showing the resilience about coming out of that too, that our tamariki can see that and take that on board, especially around our things that we talk about in regards to, you know, your Moti Order, your hau order, so to speak. And that, if anything, is planting that seed in terms of that it will continue to be passed on in that way. A lot of the stuff that we learned as Māori is, as you're aware, is by observing, by listening, and then trying to explore for ourselves what it looks like, but always having our elders or our tuakanga there to, you know, still show if we need some a bit more guidance about it, in what way can we shape that. So if that essence, so to speak, of the kumara is still there, then I think that'll be, if you look at it in that respect, neha, the kumara was grown for our nourishment and not just for our physical side of it, but te rataha wairua, te rataha hiringaro anō, karia tae te haka wehe e rā pahatara, kei roto i a koe. And I think if that kind of responds in another way, then awesome.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah. Ngā mihi, Greg. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone? No?
Just what's the follow-up here, Mark? Because I, like everyone else, I really enjoyed this space, and I'd love to see another workshop come out of this as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
I think Monica or Chloe would probably be the best people to answer that question for you. Maybe we can get back to you on that.
I can jump in now if you like, Tuihana. Yeah. Hey, so kia ora all. Hey, just awesome to see the uptake, and shortly we're going to ask people to complete a really teeny tiny survey. But what that does is gives us some insight into the demands and interest and uptake. And also I would encourage, if you want to see more of it, we are hopeful around putting together some more support or packages. We really want to make sure they're hitting people's appetite, need and demand. So there's a couple of options around feedback. In the survey, I've just popped my email address in. I'm always open for emails or talking, and yeah, we're just really keen to hear how people are finding it, and just also wanting to acknowledge Tuihana. It was an awesome session, so yeah.
Ngā mihi. Well, I'm sure that if you want to ask questions, you can ask them at a later time. Is that okay, Chloe? Are they allowed to do that? Great. And I'm sure there's an email address that Amy and Aggie can provide for everybody. Amy, have I got another slide around resources? I was having so much of a tutu last night. No? No, okay. Well, can I just talk to the resources? Because oh yes, sorry. So they said, you know, what are the take-homes? What are the takeaways for us? And I said, but actually I like to look at it as a kite, you know, how can we fill our basket? You know, that basket of knowledge that we already have. How do we fill that? And, you know, this was probably the hardest slide for me to put together, because I was like, it's such a diverse audience, and how do I meet the needs of everybody? So what I'm going to do is just talk to some real practical things that you can do. Now, I think I've spoken around how your greatest pūmanawa is actually to breathe, okay? Is to remember ha, to remember that ha gives us life. It, you know, we would not be standing here if it wasn't for ha. So remember to breathe. There's lots of resources available online, but I always like to call it the breath of wha, and it was actually taught to me by a lovely lady, Nini Kaitane Tinaro from Maniapoto, and she always talks about it being breath of 4. So you breathe in slowly for 4 and you breathe out. That will help you during times of anxiety, stress, or when you just want to have some time out. Okay, take a minute or two. Just go and find a quiet place. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be quiet, okay? I'm a kind of person who likes a bit of music in my ears. But remember, your greatest skill is breath, is ha. Know your pūmanawa. And from all the kōrero that I've heard today, from all the conversations I've heard today, I think most of us are very aware of our pūmanawa. And Natasha and many others, I would implore you to just be in the light of your pūmanawa. We could also write it and say it, you know, write it down somewhere where you can see it visually, and it reminds us. And be okay to say it out loud, you know, and then we're living and breathing it. My other thing is to always give gratitude, to always give thanks. One of the ladies spoke around how she does karakia both in the morning and in the evening. Now, sometimes karakia can be seen as a Christian context, but from a te ao Māori perspective, it actually allows, what starts our day and it actually what finishes our day. So I personally like to stand with my feet barefoot on papatūnuku, and I do a little little tātai, sorry. And I do that every morning, and I just look to where the sun's coming up, whether it's rainy, whether it's freezing cold, or whether it's beautifully sunny and glorious. I will always do that most mornings, or walk down to the awa and do myself with water. But gratitude to others is around journaling, is around writing it, okay? Value you and value others. I value all of you. I thank you all for your time today. Also, there's lots of TED-type talks and resources available on YouTube channel, on Spotify. If you type in self-awareness or self-care, as I said, Che's channel is awesome. For those who want to get a te ao Māori perspective, there's also lots of Pasifika whanau that do lots of things also. So I would encourage you to do a bit of research. So I haven't provided you with all the links because I thought this is actually a bit of mahi kainga for each of you to do. And it can open your mind and your world up. So ka pai, awesome, wiri. Yeah, cool, awesome. If there's no more pātai, then what I'm going to do is finish us off with a karakia. But just a reminder, please, if you can feedback on the survey, that would be really great, because it always gives us an ability to reiterate and to finesse our mahi a little bit more, you know, to really bring out some more of that pūmanawa. But yeah, you know, we've provided you hopefully with some tauranga, with some learnings today, and in return, the survey will provide us with some learning. So we would really appreciate you taking some time to do that. I'm going to finish us up with karakia whakamutinga. Thank you. Now, I'm just going to close my office door. Excuse me for just a minute, so that everyone doesn't have to put up with this. But I said that yesterday, that if I felt like we needed to sing this, then I was going to sing this. Now, I wouldn't ask you to unmute yourselves, but if you know this waiata, or this karakia, then I would, I know Christina, I know Rachel, I'm sure Natasha and Greg and Irene and many others would know this. Okay, we're going to finish it off with the waiata. Kia tau katoa, te ata whā. O tō tātou ariki a ihu, karaiti. Me te aroha o te atua nui. Me te whiwhinatahi tanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake amine. Ake amine. So from me to you, just a reminder, kia Whiti Tonu is to shine brightly. So please continue to shine your bright lights in all the mahi that you do. Ngā mihi nui, ngā mihi mahana, ngā mihi aroha ti iwo. Kia ora.
Thank you.
Thank you. And here's, don't forget the survey, whanau. Kia ora.
Will the survey be